We're going to take brothers and our listeners back to when American Masons were meeting in these places called taverns or public houses. Today we call them bars, but back then that's how they were known. And it wasn't like Cheers where everybody knew your name, but it kind of was. Like, what was life like in early American or colonial communities, and what was the role of these taverns?
Yeah, it was really kind of a one-stop shop. There's this kind of recent phenomenon in sociology, pop psychology, thinking about a third space, which I think for many of us, Lodge is our third space. We have our home life, our work life, and then another space where we have camaraderie and friendship. And in early colonial America, there was your work, whatever that was, your home life. And then I would add church was a big part of early American society. And we see that from the earliest settlements, right? There were churches, but universally there were taverns and inns, oftentimes in the same building. It would be a place where you would go, if you wanted prepared food, that was the place. If you wanted to have a work meeting, that was the place. If you wanted to send something in the mail, that was the place. So it really was kind of the everywhere place of early colonial America.
I'm trying, because the way you were describing it, it sounds like the hotel, the inn, the restaurant, the bar, the mail place, because none of this really existed in towns. You may have had like a blacksmith and like a butcher or some other trades folks, and then there was the tavern. And as you're saying, like, there wasn't television back then. There were books. I mean, it wasn't like people didn't have outlets for creativity or free time, but the role of the tavern, you didn't go there to get drunk. I mean, of course, that's what ended up happening, but it was like a socially acceptable place to be, where now when you hear about people who hang out in bars in 2026, you're like, are they a member of something else as well?
Yeah. Certainly it feels like now there's a lot of baggage associated with with spending lots of time at drinking establishments, but because it was where you went to do everything, it was a post office. It would be the same as I'm just nipping out to the post office or stopping to grab lunch. It was just a fact of daily life. And between the early churches, the meeting houses, which is what they're typically called in like early settlement New England, and the taverns and inns, that was like the places to be if you weren't at home doing your work.
Fun fact, I think it could revive the U.S. Postal Service if they did start serving beer during
business. Those lines a lot more comfortable.
Oh, yeah, and cheerier. How would you describe the typical day of a tavern back in the 18th century? I mean, did they start when the cock crowed in the morning and go all the way until past midnight?
Yeah, I think the most common taverns also had a few rooms for rent. And so they were kind of like early inns. And obviously, if you were traveling by horse at the time, you didn't really have meals with you. So it would typically, there would be breakfast available, some lunch fare available, and dinner obviously as well. And with all those meals, often beer, right? The taverns tended to brew their own beer. It wasn't beer for the sake of drinking beer. If we look at kind of the history of alcohol, it was another calorie dense food. It was another way to get your calories.
That's actually why I'm drinking today.